This episode of Forging Friendships is sponsored in part by Iron Mountain Metalcraft, located in the beautiful Pigeon Forge, Tennessee area. Go forge a memory with Forged in Fire fan favorite Robbie Bowman. Woo! The show is also sponsored in part by African Custom Knives, Black Dragon Forge, Paragon Kilns, and with the support of viewers like you through our GoFundMe campaign, link in description.
I'm ruining this entire take. Mwah! There's nothing you can do to stop me. All of your YouTube show belong to me now. The story of me, where do I come from? I mean, some people think I was hatched, but I was actually born. I was born in Wichita Falls, Texas. Technically, I'm an Air Force brat. I was born on Shepherd's Air Force Base. Yeah, there's a thing that no one expected to ever come out of my mouth. My mom and I moved back to New York, where my mom was from, which was Staten Island, and my whole family is from. And I grew up in New York. I grew up on Staten Island, New York City. I lived there until my mid-20s, and in all of its complexities, brilliance, and color, and violence. I grew up in kind of a rough neighborhood, and you know, there are parts of me that were formed in that, and parts of me that were formed in the awesome family that I grew up around. The more important parts are from the awesome family I grew up around, with lots of support and cousins and aunts and uncles that all looked after me and taught me how to look after other people. And you know, my mom, my dad, I guess some people would say my stepdad, but he's my dad. He's always been my dad. I've never felt any different from that. I grew up with a pretty good family, you know, and I grew up kind of in some bad places, but I grew up around good people who taught me how to be a good person, even in bad environments, and gave me a good value system, taught me to be protective of the people around me, and make sure that everyone around me was safe and happy as much as I could provide for that. You know, I grew up playing music. Apparently, according to my mom, I was playing the drums at 18 months old. I know I was listening to Buddy Rich records back then, since I was really young. And it's a thing that just kind of made sense to me. I just kind of understood the basics of how to play the drums, and I took some lessons from some guys in the neighborhood, Joey Caruso and Howie Fallon. Howie was like a big brother to me. He's like my, you know, the big brother I didn't have, and also a drummer, and introduced me all this cool, awesome music that kind of helped form my influences in playing music. And yeah, I started playing gigs when I was, I don't know, 14, I think, 13 or 14 years old. I think I was 14. I started playing in bars, and you know, so I kind of grew up in bars. Yeah, like 14 years old, you start gigging. That just continued all the way into my mid-20s, and you know, as I got older, I started playing more and more and more until I was, you know, playing like 280 shows a year, which was absolutely insane. But you know, I was like basically in a bunch of bands. You know, I was like a band whore. You know, it's like people would be like, "Hey, you want to play my band?" And it was really difficult for me to say no, because it was like a thing. It was a thing I hadn't done, so it's a new challenge. It's like, let's see if I can pull it off, which is a theme in my life. I have a really hard time saying no to something that could be challenging that I'm interested in. You know, and you know, I have to be interested in it. If I'm not interested in it, it's real easy for me to say no. If it's a thing that has my interest or captures my imagination and it sounds difficult, I really want to try and do it. So I ended up playing in a lot of different musical situations, and you know, doing all the different types of gigs you could do. Busking in the subway in Manhattan, you know, to, you know, playing, you Roseland, and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun. I did a lot of really cool things and got to meet really amazing people, and that's what I did for like the first half of my life. I also was slowly developing these interests in bladesmithing and history and things like that, and at some point that took over, and kind of wanted to do more bladesmithing and express myself more in an art form that I got to dictate completely and wholly as myself. And that took me out to Texas, and I moved back out here to explore like some opportunities that were open to me to learn. And so I came out here, and with the hopes of building a life, and it didn't quite get built the way I thought it was going to get built, but I ended up doing it, and here I am, sitting in a new shop, with a life that I've built through many complicated ups and downs that I wouldn't have gotten through if it were not for the people in my life that have helped me, my family and my friends, and current and former business partners and stuff like that have really kind of put a certain level of faith in me that even when I've failed or not been able to perform at my highest capacities have taught me that I need to earn that faith, and if I keep working and trying and getting better, that's what you do to earn that faith. And that's all it's about, is you help people out not so that you get something out of it, but to support them in becoming better and stronger people. And I don't know, I guess I've been very fortunate because I have a lot of people in my life that have taught me that lesson, have reinforced that lesson of keep working, keep getting better, and keep being fascinated and finding the wonder in the world around you, whether it be through work that you do or work that other people do, and being inspired by the circumstances that you find yourself in, as opposed to being oppressed by them. I think a lot of people make that mistake. They find themselves in situations that can be oppressive, can be difficult, and we focus too much on the negative things, on the things that can drag us down and make it hard for us to overcome, instead of being inspired to overcome them and to work through them. And I'm not saying that it's always like a brilliant inspiration of empowerment. Sometimes it's like it's horrible and difficult to muddle through, and it is very much you're just trudging, but as long as you're trudging one foot in front of the other, no matter how long it takes you to make that next step, as long as you're making that next step, you are doing everything you can to earn the faith and the hope and promise that people have put into you, and the friendships that people have projected to you and given to you. That's all you have to do to earn that, is just keep moving forward, keep leaning into it, and away from the stuff that's hurt you and has tried to hold you back. I think that's really what my work is all about, is just leaning into what's holding me back and just pushing into it and trying to push through it, and moving that yardstick further downfield, whether it be by inches or miles, or millimeters. Oh, who's influenced me most as a maker? I mean, that changes every day.
Not one?
Tony, my buddy Tony influenced me a lot in the beginnings. J.D. Smith was a big influence, and a guy that I was fascinated with from a pretty long time ago. I like Jason Knight's work. I dig the guys from the show a lot. I was a big fan of Doug's. From the martial arts background. and Jay Nielsen's. I like Jay Nielsen's work. It was very clean, and you know, I liked his methodical approach to things, because there's that methodical side to me too. Like, as much of a bag of cats I'm also I have certain processes that I stick to very much, but they're more kind of like instinct to me almost, because I've done them so much. But I'm very methodical, and if you mess up my process, it's not good. Like, I usually throw things, you know, and get grumpy. You know, I'm trying. Oh man, putting me on the spot. Like, I'm inspired by the guys that I see all the time, like the other guys from the show. Like, all the, you know, the great thing from doing the show is, like, I've met all these makers that I never would have met before. You know, and I find inspiration just from hanging out with other guys and seeing the work that they do is really cool. Like, I get inspired from your work and from everyone that I meet. You know, David Mooneyham and Ryu. I love Ryu's work, but Ryu and I have been buds since the show first aired. You know, like, we got along really well. I guess, like, you know, if you were to make a list of, like, you know, if you were to have a vote of Forged in Fire contestants most likely to get arrested together, it would probably be me and Ryu. Yeah, I mean, Cowboy. I can't, like, I mean, I can't remember names fast enough, thanks to brain damage, that, you know, like, that can do this justice. Like, you know, it's like anyone who's picked up a hammer and worked honestly is an inspiration. Or even like, there's stock removal guys out there that I dig. Like, one person's shop to spend a day in. Yeah. Oh, see, I didn't even mention Liam. That's wrong, because Liam is my buddy, and he's helped me, man, in a rough time. A real rough time. You know, I don't even know who this person is. I saw this on YouTube, right? And I saw it, and I watched it for a little bit, and it just stuck in my head. There's a dude who built a steam-powered shop. You know, it's like a belt-driven steam-powered shop. I think it's called the steam-powered shop. And, you know, it's all like, you know, steam-powered material, machines and stuff like that from a certain time period where it was, like, you know, period correct. And he has all these awesome machines that are all powered by this belt-driven system that's all, you know, run on steam. I'd love to spend some time in that shop, because that's cool. I'd love to build a shop like that that's, like, geared more towards bladesmithing. That's like that'd be like my dream Ren Fair shop, is, like, you know, this belt-driven system that runs all these, like, period correct tools and power hammers and stuff, but it's, like, run on steam, or, you know, something like that. Would be super cool. The wow factor of being a maker. Huh. There's not a short answer. The amount of healing I get from making. And that's a very complicated answer, because it's not just the making. It's the interactions. It's the interactions I get to have with makers and with people who appreciate the art and who appreciate what you do, and just the sheer amount of, like, yeah, the interactions and the connections. But, like, I don't know, there's something that's happening, like, when I'm making it, it's like I'm taking parts of me, the pain, you know, a lot of the hurtful things that I've been through in my life, and it's like you're taking that out, and it's just like parts of you, damaged parts are coming out and being turned into beautiful things. I don't know, it's kind of like how it feels. It's like, you know, every time I finish a project, I feel like I've resolved something. You know, I've resolved something that I'm going through or trying to process. It's like, it's incorporated into my processing skills, I guess. So there's that, and I never really expected that to happen, but it is what happened. It wasn't why I got into it, but it certainly, it definitely helped to kind of cement that connection to making. You know, it was like, oh wow, this is actually helping me develop as a human being. It's making me a better person than I was yesterday, and I like that. I want to be better tomorrow than I was today, every day. And this has definitely given me an avenue where that's a certainty almost. You know, like, I haven't had a day yet where that hasn't been part of it, and I really like that. Oh, that's a complicated answer because, I mean, anyone who knows me know I do a ton of hand sanding. I spend a lot of time doing hand sanding. I kind of resent it, but I also really enjoy it. It is a meditative process for me. I resent the amount of time I lose in it, but I appreciate the time I lose in it as well, because it's almost a meditative state.